welcome back to My Kitten Reads. I'm Eleanor and this is my May reading wrap up, which I'm not quite doing on the weekend because I was really busy on the weekend, but it's public holiday. So yeah, so what did I read in May? Looking back, it wasn't the best reading month. I only finished 6 things and many of them were quite short. But I am technically I was ahead of myself in terms of my overall goal for the year. So I am still on track. I read 50 books in 5 months. Exactly on track. And I hope to do better in June with things starting to relax a little bit at work. Slightly. I'm still not back at the gym very often, which makes dedicated reading on my Kindle a bit difficult. Although I did go to see 2 Canberra Brave games this weekend, and because I got there so early, did do some reading on my Kindle. So that was helpful. Yeah. So what did I read? Okay, so the first thing that I finished in May was a physical book that's been on my shelf for a while, Judi Dench's And Furthermore. So this is it's not like a full-on biography, but it's a little bit of a memoir of her work in her own words. So that was quite enjoyable, particularly her comments on like the people that she's worked with and what projects she found difficult, that kind of thing. So it was a very interesting read, but you know, not too hard, which honestly my ability to consume anything difficult right now is not great. But yes, so I would recommend that, particularly if you're interested in the film industry and in acting in particular, and theatre, because Judi, of course, like most British actors of her age, got her start in theatre, and theatre is her true love. So yeah, definitely worth a read. Then I did quite a bit of Hugo reading. So I read Three Faces of a Beheading by Arkady Martine, which is in the short story category. This was sort of set in some sort of virtual reality where a character being beheaded became like a political statement that wasn't supposed to exist or something. I didn't quite get it. Yeah. It was fine. It just didn't click for me. And the beheading thing happens right at the start of the story, so it's not a spoiler. It's in the title. Then I switched to an Austen variation, which I did read a lot of Austen variations, but they were like rereading old favourites, and I'm not including those in my count. So, but this one was a new one to me and a new author to me. So it was The Heiress from Longbourn by Rosamund Pike, in which Lizzie inherits an estate from a distant relation in Derbyshire. I can't remember off the top of my head. It might have been like a great uncle of like Mr. Gardner's wife or a Gardner relative. I'm not entirely sure, but she meets Mr. Darcy again because she's inherited this estate, which is not far from Pemberley, and she's trying to wrap her head around this whole estate management thing, and she wants to do a good job and have the loyalty of her dependents and do well by them. And so that actually, Mr. Darcy, when he courts her, there's a lot of her like, well, how do we do this? Because I'm not just giving up and becoming an absentee landlord. I've put too much work into this. And so there's a lot of conversations about how to balance responsibilities and all that kind of stuff, and he has to come to terms with that as well. Then back to the Hugo reading, I read, I think it's in the novella category, or it could be novelette. I'm not sure. I can't remember off the top of my head. It might be the novelette category, actually. Lake of Souls by Ann Leckie. This was weird, sort of. It sort of was from 2 perspectives. One, from the perspective of a native of the planet who seemed to be some sort of like semi-aquatic animals or something, but they were sentient. And then the other part of the perspective was from like a human who had been in deep freeze just in case she was needed on this like expedition, not expecting to be brought out, only to be brought out of the deep freeze and discover everyone else was dead, and went to the planet to try and find the Ansible, and met one of these creatures. Yeah, it was interesting, but weird. Very weird. Yeah. Sort of sentient lobsters-ish, kind of. Yeah. Weird. Then I read Marginalia by Mary Wollonett Kowal, which is in the short story category, I believe. Or it could have been in the novelette. I can't remember, but I think it was a short story. And this is like a traditional fantasy setting, one where there are giant killer snails in the forest. But in our viewpoint, character is a girl who used to be a maid in the castle where her mother was housekeeper, but she had to leave her job because her mother's illness had gotten so bad. She had a palsy, which is why she had to retire as housekeeper, and she was set up in a farm grateful for her service kind of thing, but she was not able to actually run it herself, so her daughter had to leave her job to help. And there's a younger son as well, who's fascinated with horses and fascinated with being a page, and well, he wants to be a squire, but he's sort of too low-born. But they end up rescuing the knight of the manor. So yeah, that was kind of fun. Nothing too complicated. There's some class stuff in there, but it was just an interesting fantasy story from a working class female perspective. And then I finished up reading, actually, I think this is in the novelette category. I read it actually at the first hockey game of the weekend on the last day of May. And it was Loneliness Universe by Eugenia Triantafylou. I've probably pronounced that horrendously. I think it's Greek, kind of looks Greek. And this was a part epistolary, part story about a woman who reached out to her childhood best friend, and somehow in doing so seems to have broken the universe, in that people seem to be getting lost in an adjacent universe, and so they'll be in exactly the same place and can't see each other, but they can text each other or email each other. But the more time she spends with a person, the more likely they are to disappear into the other universe. Yeah. Again, quite weird. I quite enjoyed it. It was a bit of a meditation on friendship and family. So definitely worth the read. Yeah, so far there's not a lot of stories in the Hugos that are just jumping out at me. So yeah, I will continue to do my Hugo reading because I believe I have until sometime in July. Yes. Well, anyway, so those are the 6 things that I read in May. None of them actually hit my diversity goals as far as I'm aware. I don't think there were any queer characters. I don't think any of them are technically people of colour. I might need to double check on Eugenia. I haven't actually checked. But it's a very European name, so I'm not sure. I might need to check that. But yeah, so not really hitting my diversity goals, but hitting my hero reading goals, essentially. So that's always good. Yeah, I will try and do better in June. I am a good chunk of a way through an audiobook at the moment. I have plenty more Hugo reading to do. Not sure what else is on my agenda for the moment. I need to have a think. still doing a lot of stitching and a lot of watching television because I found many seasons of Time Team, and I'm currently binging F1 The Academy. So, but yes, I will try and do better in June. As always, happy to chat about any of these stories in the comments if you've read them. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.